Good evening. This is Talking Sports with Evan, and I am back this week with a new episode of the show. Apologize for not having a new show last week, but do have a new show this week. And the start of the league year for the NFL has arrived. The league year officially opened yesterday in the NFL, and the Packers have announced some exciting signings um, during the legal tampering phase of free agency is what they like to call it. So going to talk about the Packers signings and what it means for the team moving forward. Even have one coming out today with a player coming back who I'm a little surprised is coming back, but not really at the same time. Going to talk some Milwaukee Bucks as well. Not really a good first half for the Bucks again tonight. Playing some very bad basketball right now. So I'm going to talk about the Bucks and give my thoughts there. And talk some NFL free agency in general. You can find me on X at Evan with Sports. You can find me on Facebook, Talking Sports with Evan, or on YouTube, also Talking Sports with Evan. The show is live each and every week, except I guess when I don't feel like doing it. But for the most part, it's live each and every week. And the podcast is available anywhere podcasts are found. You can also find and subscribe on Substack. That's the publishing platform of the show. Sports Thoughts from Evan is the Substack title. I tried changing it to Talking Sports with Evan, and the main URL didn't change. But either Talking Sports with Evan or Sports Thoughts from Evan is how you can find that. But going to start with the Milwaukee Bucks, because I was going to talk the Milwaukee Bucks the last time I did the show, but ended up not being able to squeeze in Milwaukee Bucks talk because kind of ran out of time. I don't really have a time limit, but I do try to keep 30 minutes or less for the most part, unless I have a guest. Then we'll go a little bit long. But the Milwaukee Bucks right now, currently tied for second in the Eastern Conference. The Bucks came out of the All-Star break with a 6-game winning streak, and things were looking positive. Things were looking like they were on the upswing. But lately, the Milwaukee Bucks are not playing very good basketball. They currently sit at 42-24, and they just came home from a 4-game West Coast trip where they got destroyed by the Golden State Warriors, who are fighting to get out of the play-in tournament, as they like to call it. They lost a tight game to the Lakers, which they let D'Angelo Russell score 40. And if D'Angelo Russell plays his season average, the Bucks win that game easily. They barely beat a Clippers team that were without two of their best players and Russell Westbrook out for the rest of the year. And the bookend is they get completely destroyed by the Sacramento Kings, who going into last night were in the play-in tournament, but now they're tied for the 6th seed in the Western Conference. Western Conference road trips, I get it. They're tough when you go from east to west. I understand. And the Bucks don't tend to play well when they go out west. They just don't. I get that. But there's some things that we've been seeing lately from the Bucks that are very concerning. I was going to mostly focus on when I was going to talk Bucks tonight. The positive stuff with Doc Rivers since he's taken over. The not so good stuff with Doc Rivers since he's taken over. But right now I got more bad than good to talk about. And the 6-game winning streak, things are looking like they figured things out and they were going to kind of cruise into the playoffs on a hot note. Well, not really. And one of the Bucks' biggest problems is their defense plays well against teams that don't have a lot of ball movement. Teams that they can get aggressive and get physical with, the Bucks defense plays well. But when you go up against Golden State, when you go up against the Kings, when you go up against Indiana, when you go up against Miami, those are teams that do a lot of passing, a lot of ball movement, a lot of screens, a lot of running around, and the Bucks don't play well with that style. And that's one of my biggest concerns with their defense. And as of right now, if the playoffs started today, they would be playing the 76ers. If they can somehow get this victory today, currently losing early in the third quarter, they would be the 2 seed by themselves, and they would be playing, as of right now, if there's no play-in tournament, the Indiana Pacers. And the Indiana Pacers, the Miami Heat, the Kings, the Warriors are 4 teams, and the Timberwolves are 4 teams that the Bucks don't do well against. Those types of defense and those types of offense. And the Bucks defense don't do really well against it. At Bucks Film Room brought up a good point is if you want to know if the Bucks will struggle on defense in their upcoming games, look at their opponent's average seconds per touch and average dribbles per touch. If they rank high, the Bucks will likely struggle. And those are the type of teams the Bucks are not playing well against. Teams that do a lot of running, screening, and dribbling. And it doesn't help when the offense is not able to score points, which they were not able to do against Golden State, and they were not able to do against the Kings. Now you're being pushed in transition a lot more, and the Bucks transition defense is one of the big issues all year is they're not very good in transition, and they got better under Doc in transition, but they also weren't having as many transition opportunities or giving up so many transition opportunities since Doc took over as well. So it kind of wasn't a problem anymore. And Maxey just nailed another 3-pointer because guess what? Maxey cannot miss at all tonight. And that seems to be the issue the Bucks get into too, is even when the defense is playing good, they're getting guys' faces, they're contesting shots, they're still falling like they're throwing the ball into the ocean. But Boston's another team that has really good ball movement. Guys move a lot without the ball, set up a lot of screens, pass the ball a lot. So that's my biggest concern with the Bucks. Other concern I have is I get Doc Rivers likes playing veterans, but pretty much since Adrian Griffin was playing your AJ Green, your Camp, and uh, Ajax quite a bit of minutes early on this season. Since Griffin got fired and Prunty was the interim, and then Doc took over, the young guys are not playing at all. Only the veterans seem to be playing. AJ Green's getting a little bit more run lately than he was when Prunty / Rivers first took over. But Ajax, we're not seeing at all. And I think he's a guy, he brings energy. And one of the biggest things the Bucks are lacking right now is they're lacking energy, game to game, play to play, quarter to quarter. They're lacking energy. And Ajax will bring energy off the bench. And tonight they have 11 turnovers, and there's 8 something to go in the third quarter. Maybe I know I'm a little bit behind than the live TV as I have the game streaming, but just sloppy play from the Bucks and carelessness with the basketball. And the Bucks are just playing like a bad basketball team right now. There's no way around it. They're playing like a bad basketball team right now. And they're too talented. Damian Lillard has been up and down the entire season. And yes, I get it. He's going through a divorce. He doesn't have his kids with him. He's in a new city. Yada, yada, yada. Don't mean to be insensitive here. But Dame does have a job to do. And he extremely inconsistent, and I'm guessing Giannis got caught with a technical. So, very inconsistent from Dame. Not playing like Dame Lillard as we were hoping we were getting. And the trade right now, let's be honest here, the trade with Holiday and Dame Lillard and Grayson Allen, the Bucks are not looking like they won that trade at all right now. And it's because Dame's too inconsistent on both sides of the court. And the big thing I need to see as we get closer to the playoffs, as games start meaning more, I need to see Dame play with a lot more consistency, a lot more urgency, and stop the up and down. And I used the term Jekyll and Hyde before, and apparently it can be interpreted that I'm saying he's playing bad on purpose. Not sure how you can interpret it that way, but the point is some games he's on, some games he's off. That's the point I'm making. So apologize for people who interpret that the wrong way, but playing too Jekyll and Hyde, and he needs to be more consistent. If the Bucks want to make a deep playoff run, Giannis and Dame both have to play like the superstars that they're supposed to be, and we haven't seen Dame play like a superstar too often this year. We've seen him play average to below average more than we've seen him play like a superstar. And Middleton coming back should help the offense that is completely non-existent at times. And right now they're very non-existent. Currently at 60, down by 7, only at 60 points right now. They didn't score 30 at all against the Kings and a quarter at all against the Kings. And it doesn't look like they're going to do it here really tonight either, as the offense is, like I said, just completely non-existent. So Bucks have a lot of work to do if they want to go deep into the playoffs. And I'm not even going to say make the NBA Finals. I don't think that's happening at this point. They're just too inconsistent on both sides of the floor to be an NBA championship contender. The defense plays lazy at times, and the offense can't score at times. So, moving on. The news every Packer fan has been waiting for was announced today on X. The Packers made announcements official. And the news we've all been waiting for is the Packers announced the official signing. Got to find it. They announced the official re-signing of Christian Welch, linebacker. Wait, that's not the signing we were waiting for? All kidding aside, Goody, I think people need to give Goody an apology. The complaints that we hear about Goody is he won't spend any money. And I think that's farthest from the truth, that Goody won't spend any money. If you think about it, Goody's really only had money twice since he's been GM. 2018 is when he took over. 2018 was more of the let's figure out what we have year. They did release Jordy Nelson. They signed Jimmy Graham. Yes, I know Jimmy Graham didn't live up to what we were hoping for he would in Green Bay. But 2019, he spent money. He spent money on young free agents. He got Zadarius Smith. He got Preston Smith. He got Billy Turner. He got Adrian Amos, all under 30, coming off their first contracts with their respective teams to come to Green Bay. I think he spent like $186 million on one day in free agency back in 2019 on those four guys. 2020 didn't have the money because he just spent all that money on those four guys, and he had to then, unfortunately, give Aaron Rodgers a new contract on top in 2021, on top of with the revenue not where it was in 2020 due to playing, or 2021, I mean, due to playing in front of no fans. It cut the salary cap. The salary cap went down. 2022 didn't have any money again because he had to spend a ton of money to keep Rodgers happy. This 2023 was more of a get right season, play young and get right. And now 2024 is here, and Goody's making moves. And the first move, very surprising, Josh Jacobs signs a 4-year deal with Green Bay. And I know we lost Aaron Jones in the process, and I get it. Aaron Jones has been a a great Green Bay Packer during his tenure with the Packers, and I'm thankful for everything he brought to Green Bay. But the Packers, in my opinion, got better in the running back position by bringing Jacobs in. The problem, there's a couple issues with Aaron Jones, and I say this with great respect to the player and the person of Aaron Jones. He has not been healthy really his entire NFL career. He missed a lot of games last year. When he was on, the offense was a completely different game when he was there. But he missed a lot of time due to injury, just like he has in his entire career. And the best ability is availability, and they don't have that enough with Aaron Jones. The other thing you have to take into account with Aaron Jones, there seems to be more running backs that once they get to that 30 range that just suddenly fall off the cliff. And I'm not saying Aaron Jones is going to fall off a cliff because he's 30, but we've seen it more often than not that running backs tend to hit a wall once to 30 and they're not as productive as they used to be and they can't stay as healthy as they used to be. Where Jones has already been dealing with injuries in his entire NFL career to this point. He was also expected to have a cap hit of $17 million. And yes, I get the Packers offered him basically to take a half his salary and pay cut. I get that. I don't blame Aaron Jones and his team for saying no. We already gave you 2 pay cuts. We're not giving you another pay cut that big. I respect that stance. But at the end of the day, the Bucs had to make a decision, and they got a 26-year-old Josh Jacobs, who's 2 years removed from leading the NFL in rushing yards, or a 30-year-old Aaron Jones, who is injured more than he plays. The Packers had to make the decision they felt was best for them at the end of the day. And again, nothing but respect for Aaron Jones. Nothing but respect for him. Appreciate his time in Green Bay. Wish him well in Minnesota, except twice a year. Hopefully he can continue to dominate the Bears. Hopefully he can continue to dominate the Cowboys if the Vikings play the Cowboys. But the Packers, I think, upgraded that position. And I'm going to say this too. Let fans fan the way they want to fan. People are mad that Aaron Jones got released. You don't need to explain to them why it's more beneficial to the team for that. Because the people who are sad that Aaron Jones got released, I can say with pretty good confidence that they know that and they understand that. I'm sad to see Aaron Jones go, but I also understand that Josh Jacobs is the better option moving forward. We can be both. We can be sad about it and understand why the move had to be made. We can grow attached to these players. I get it. It's a business. The NFL is a business, and there's a good chance your favorite player will not finish their career with your team you like the most. Very good chance it's not going to happen. This isn't the NFL of old days when guys played for just one team and then finished their career. It doesn't work that way anymore. But again, tip my hat to Jones, wish him well in Minnesota. And I have no problem with fans getting attached to Aaron Jones and David Bakhtiari and so forth. Let fans fan the way they want to fan. You're not hurting anybody by being attached to your favorite player. It happened when Favre left, and I know the off-the-field stuff with Favre has ended up kind of making me turn sour on him. It happened when Rodgers left. We get it. It was the right move at the right time, but we can still be sad, miss what Rodgers brought to the team. And we can be sad and miss what Aaron Jones brought the team. And we don't need to be explained to why it's a good thing they signed Josh Jacobs. So I'll step off my soapbox there. But the Packers very active on the first day of the legal tampering period on Monday. It also released David Bakhtiari, which we all knew was going to happen, and another player that See, Bakhtiari was one of my favorite players during his tenure in Green Bay. Great left tackle, one of the best in the business, had a trajectory before the ACL tear that he was going to go into the Hall of Fame. And you could probably make an argument of him being one of the top left tackles there has been. That's how good Bakhtiari was when he was on the field. But unfortunately, the ACL tear in practice, shortly after signing the new contract on New Year's Eve or day, whatever it was, he could never be the same after that. And as I just got done saying about Aaron Jones, availability is the best ability. If you can't be available, it doesn't matter how talented you are. And the Packers cleared $20 million in cap space by releasing David Bakhtiari. Hopefully he can get back on the football field and get back to being the player that I watched when he was playing his best football. But it's a move that had to be made. Because with that release of Bakhtiari, with that release of Aaron Jones, I already mentioned Josh Jacobs, but they were able to bring in Xavier McKinney, the best safety on the market. Maybe a little overpay possibly for him, but the safety position for the Packers have been not good pretty much since Nick Collins got hurt. The safety position was very bad last year. The safety position pretty much lost you the game against San Francisco with their inability to both cover down the field and tackle in key moments in the game. They have to upgrade the position. And Donald Driver, talking about players that finished his career with one team, Donald Driver, he's at the Bucs game tonight. But anywho, back to Xavier McKinney, the Packers had to upgrade the position. They are a legitimate Super Bowl contending team now after making their big run last year. To be a legitimate Super Bowl team, you can't go out there with Rudy Ford and Jonathan Owens and Darnell Savage being your primary safeties. You just can't. You just can't. They need to upgrade the position, and they did. The top-rated safety according to Pro Football Focus when it comes to coverage. He can tackle. He can play. He can play both the deep safety. He can play around the line of scrimmage. He can play the slot. He gives you a lot of options at that safety position, and the dude's only 24 years old. I do wonder why the Giants let him leave the way they did without even franchise taking him for the fact that he was only 24 years old. But the Packers are getting, to me, an ascending player who is going to be exactly what Jeff Hafley needs to make his more of a single high, is what I've heard it's going to be, or what he's done in the past, more of a single high safety. You need an Xavier McKinney back there that can play the single high, or he can always play down by the line of scrimmage. So it was great bringing Xavier McKinney in. Re-signed Keyshawn Nixon. Not really a big fan of what they spent on Nixon, but I am glad to see him back. He's a talented player, good in the locker room, it appears. The teammates seem to love him. He loves it in Green Bay, and he definitely contributes when he has to. I don't like him being the primary nickel corner, which he's probably going to be his role. But I'm interested to see what Jeff Hafley does with him. Towards the end of the season, Nixon was playing more around the line of scrimmage, and he was even blitzing on occasion. Maybe that's something that Hafley's going to do with him. Maybe he's going to be a different role than we've been seeing with Nixon not being more of the primary slot. Packers did release Campbell as well. So the linebacker position is now probably the most pressing position on the defense. Could use another safety, which I hope they address that still in free agency plus in the draft. And you definitely need a corner to help improve that room because you really only have one dependable body there. And that one dependable body spent a lot of the last couple of seasons hurt. So even your most dependable body hasn't been that dependable lately. Stokes has been injured after injured after injured. Valentine and Valentine don't really know what you have there. They're unproven. And you just have Alexander, who has not been able to stay healthy either. So the corner, safety, linebacker, still areas that the Packers need to address. Corner, I would say draft somebody in the first round. Safety, try to sign another cheap safety plus draft one. And linebacker at this point, unless you get a guy like Isaiah Simmons, who very good athlete, but hasn't really shown that he can be a very, he hasn't really shown he can be a good NFL linebacker yet. Maybe you sign him to a cheap deal and take a chance on him and bring him in and see what you got. And you also still need to draft one. And there's a few guys, and I'm going to probably go more in depth next week of particular players at those three positions that I am interested in with the Packers moving forward. But overall, I like what the Packers, and then the Packers, before I jump into that, 'cause I'm about to wrap there, and I probably should mention one more thing before I wrap, is they brought back A.J. Dillon. And I've seen some people very unhappy about A.J. Dillon being back. But they brought back A.J. Dillon for very little money. And he's a good locker room guy, good teammate, does his job, doesn't do his job great all the time, but he does his job. And you know what he's going to give you every time he's out there on the field. You know what you're going to get from him. Good pass blocker, good teammate, loves it in Wisconsin, loves it in Green Bay. Happy to see A.J. Dillon back. Still draft a running back, in my opinion, and let Emmanuel Wilson, who they brought back as an unrestricted free agent, let Emmanuel Wilson, A.J. Dillon, and whoever you draft kind of fight it out to see who's going to be that number 2 tailback after Josh Jacobs. But overall, I'm happy with what I'm seeing the Packers and Brian Gutekunst do. They know there's holes on this team. They're attacking it aggressively and trying to improve. They still got areas they have to improve in. You need a right guard. You need some offensive tackles to back up Tom and Walker and possibly push Walker for a starting job. I think Tom is set. Elton Jenkins is set. Outside of those two, you could probably upgrade. Josh Myers is in the last year of his contract, and he's been extremely inconsistent at the center position. Some games he plays really well. Other games he doesn't play that well. And you maybe look to either get his replacement or somebody that can legitimately push him at that center position. And like I said, you do need a right guard. And Walker, as well as he played, it's his job. Basically, it's his job to lose, but there's nothing that says you can't bring another offensive tackle in to push him. So what are your thoughts on what the Packers have done in free agency thus far? Releasing Aaron Jones, releasing David Bakhtiari, signing Jacobs, signing McKinney, bringing back A.J. Dillon, bringing back Keyshawn Nixon. What are your thoughts thus far on what the Packers have done in free agency? And just because they haven't signed anybody in the last couple of days doesn't mean they're done. It just means it's kind of done right now. Let the dust settle a little bit, and let's see who's available after that dust settles during free agency. With that said, thank you so much for tuning into the show. I appreciate it. New show next week. Working on trying to get a draft guest on the show. We'll see if I can get it confirmed. Just waiting to hear back from their publicist on getting the gentleman on the show. But we'll see what happens. With that said, have a great rest of your night. Have a great weekend, and I'll get back with you next week.